There is a key that was never meant to be found, a manual written by the wisest king who ever lived, a book that claims to teach you how to command spirits, bind demons, and force the invisible world to obey. They call it the Key of Solomon, and every word inside it is forbidden. King Solomon, the man who built the first temple in Jerusalem, the ruler who possessed wisdom beyond any human, the king who, according to legend, controlled an army of demons and commanded angels to do his bidding. The Bible mentions his wisdom. The Quran confirms his power over spirits. Ancient texts from cultures across the world describe his supernatural authority. But there's one thing they all agree on. Solomon didn't just know about the spirit realm. He had a system for controlling it, and he wrote it down. The Key of Solomon isn't a religious text. It's an instruction manual, a grimoire, a step-by-step guide for summoning spirits, creating protective circles, crafting talismans, and binding entities to your will. And for over 2,000 years, people have been trying to destroy every copy of it. They failed. Because this book doesn't just survive. It multiplies, it spreads, it adapts. Medieval Europe, Renaissance Italy, Victorian England, modern occult societies. The Key of Solomon appears in every era, in every language, in countless variations. But the question no one can answer is this: did Solomon actually write it? Or did someone else use his name to legitimize the most dangerous magical text ever created? Let's start with what we know. King Solomon ruled Israel in the 10th century BC. The Bible describes him as the wisest man who ever lived. God appeared to him in a dream and offered him anything he desired. Solomon asked for wisdom, and God gave it to him. But the Bible also says something else. Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. Many of them were foreign, and they brought their gods with them. 1 Kings chapter 11. Solomon's heart turned away from the Lord. He built high places for foreign gods. He burned incense to idols. This is the Solomon the Bible gives us. Wise, yes, but compromised, corrupted by his own desires. Now let's look at what other sources say. The Testament of Solomon, written somewhere between the 1st and 5th century AD, tells a very different story. In this text, Solomon receives a magic ring from the archangel Michael. This ring bears the seal of God, and with it, Solomon can command any demon or spirit. The text claims Solomon used this power to build the temple. He summoned demons and forced them to cut stones, transport materials, and labor day and night. The temple wasn't built by human hands alone. It was built by an enslaved workforce of spirits. Islamic tradition confirms this. The Quran, Surah 34, verse 12. And to Solomon we subjected the wind and the jinn who worked before him by the permission of his Lord. Solomon didn't just know about jinn, he controlled them by divine permission. So if the Bible, the Testament of Solomon, and the Quran all agree that Solomon had power over spirits, then why wouldn't he write down how he did it? That's where the Key of Solomon comes in. The oldest surviving manuscripts date to the 14th and 15th centuries, but the text itself claims to be much, much older. The introduction states that Solomon wrote it near the end of his life, as a gift to his son Rehoboam. The book opens with a warning. My son, in this key you shall find the treasures of wisdom, but guard it carefully, for the profane must never possess it. Then it begins. Instructions, rituals, requirements. And the first thing it tells you is this: if you want to control spirits, you cannot be impure. The Key of Solomon is obsessed with purification. Before you attempt any operation, you must fast. You must abstain from sin. You must bathe in running water. You must wear clean white robes. This isn't optional. The text warns that if you approach the spirits while impure, they will not obey you. Worse, they may attack you. The grimoire states, the spirits are bound by the names of God, but they despise the unclean. If you come before them in filth, you invite destruction. So, the first test isn't magical skill. It's discipline, self-control, purity, and most people fail right here. But let's say you pass. Let's say you've fasted, purified yourself, and prepared your space. What comes next? The circle. The Key of Solomon provides exact instructions for creating a magic circle. This isn't just a drawing on the floor. It's a consecrated barrier between the physical world and the spirit realm. The circle must be 9 feet in diameter. It must be drawn with a blade that has never been used. The blade must be consecrated with prayers and fumigated with specific incense. Inside the circle, you inscribe the names of God: Adonai, Elohim, Tetragrammaton, El Shaddai. These names form a protective seal. As long as you remain inside the circle and do not break the names, the spirits cannot harm you. But the moment you step outside, you're vulnerable. The grimoire is very clear about this. Do not, under any circumstances, leave the circle until the spirit has been dismissed and the operation is complete. There are stories, magicians who got impatient, who stepped out too soon, who thought they were safe. They weren't. The text warns, if you abandon the circle before the dismissal, the spirit will no longer be bound by the covenant, and it may do as it wills. What does that mean? It means the thing you summoned is now free, and it remembers that you tried to control it. Now let's talk about the talismans. The Key of Solomon contains dozens of designs: seals, pentacles, symbols. Each one corresponds to a specific purpose. There's a pentacle for protection, another for wealth, another for love, another for invisibility, another for commanding spirits, another for binding enemies. These aren't decorations. According to the text, these are functional tools. Each pentacle must be engraved on the correct metal, on the correct day, during the correct planetary hour. For example, if you want to create a pentacle of Jupiter for wealth and success, you must use tin. You must engrave it on a Thursday during the hour of Jupiter. You must consecrate it with prayers to the archangel Sachiel. If you get any of this wrong, the pentacle is useless. Or worse, it attracts the wrong kind of attention. The grimoire states, a pentacle made without proper consecration is an open door. It invites deception and malevolent forces. But here's what's interesting. The pentacles in the Key of Solomon aren't just random symbols. They're layered with meaning. Hebrew names of God, astrological symbols, geometric patterns, Kabbalistic correspondences. Everything is intentional. Everything serves a purpose. Modern occultists have analyzed these designs and found that they align with ancient Jewish mysticism, Hermetic philosophy, and medieval Christian angelology, which raises a question. If Solomon lived in the 10th century BC, how does his grimoire contain symbolism from traditions that didn't exist yet? Unless he didn't write it. Most scholars agree. The Key of Solomon, as we have it today, was not written by the historical King Solomon. The language is medieval Latin. The symbolism is post-Kabbalistic. The rituals reflect Christian and Islamic influences that didn't exist in Solomon's time. But here's the thing, that doesn't mean it's fake. It means it's a compilation, a synthesis, a system that evolved over centuries, attributed to Solomon because his name carried authority. If you wanted people to take your grimoire seriously, in medieval Europe, you didn't sign your own name. You claimed it came from Solomon, Moses, or Hermes Trismegistus. But even if Solomon didn't write the exact text we have today, the system might still be his, because the core principles in the Key of Solomon, purity, divine names, protective circles, consecrated tools, they appear in ancient Jewish magic, in Solomonic legends, in early Christian exorcism rites. The framework is old, older than the manuscripts, older than the Latin translations. Someone at some point knew how this worked, and they wrote it down under Solomon's name so it would survive. Now let's talk about what the Key of Solomon actually teaches you to do. The grimoire is divided into 2 books. Book 1 focuses on preparation, purification, and the creation of magical tools. Book 2 focuses on the actual operations, the summonings, the bindings, the commands. In Book 2, you'll find instructions for summoning specific spirits. The text provides their names, their seals, their ranks, and the exact words you must use to compel them. One operation describes how to summon a spirit to reveal hidden treasure. You must create a specific pentacle, stand within the circle at midnight, and recite an invocation that begins, "I conjure thee, Spirit of the earth, by the name of the living God, to appear before me and reveal what is hidden." If done correctly, the text claims, the spirit will manifest. It may appear as a voice, a shadow, or a figure. It will answer your questions. It will show you where the treasure is buried. But it will also test you. It will try to make you afraid. It will try to make you leave the circle. If you hold your ground, it obeys. If you flinch, it takes control. Another operation teaches how to gain the love of a specific person. This one requires a wax figure carved during the hour of Venus on a Friday. You inscribe the person's name on the figure, fumigate it with rose and myrtle, and recite a charm. The grimoire warns, do not use this for evil intent, for what you send out will return to you threefold, which is a fascinating detail because it suggests the system has built-in consequences, karmic feedback, cosmic justice. You can use the Key of Solomon to manipulate reality, but you pay for it. There's also an operation for invisibility. Yes, actual invisibility. The text claims that if you create a specific ring, Consecrate it properly and recite the correct invocation while wearing it. You will become invisible to human eyes. Does it work? I don't know. But medieval grimoires are full of stories about magicians who disappeared in front of witnesses, walked through locked doors, and escaped from prisons. Coincidence, illusion, or something else? Here's what makes the Key of Solomon different from other grimoires. It's not about making deals with demons. It's not about selling your soul. It's not about worship. It's about authority. The entire system is based on the idea that you, as a human being made in the image of God, have the right to command spirits, not because you're powerful, but because you invoke the names of the Most High. The spirits don't obey you. They obey the names you speak. Every invocation in the Key of Solomon is filled with divine names. Adonai, Elohim, Wait-vh, Sabaoth, El Shaddai. The magician stands in the circle and says, I do not command you by my own power, but by the power of the eternal God, before whom every knee shall bow. It's the Urgi, not Goetia, working with divine authority, not against it. At least that's the theory. But there's a darker side to this, because while the Key of Solomon frames itself as divine magic, the spirits being summoned aren't always angels. Some of the entities described in the grimoire are explicitly demonic, fallen beings, rebellious spirits, the same ones that other texts warn you to avoid. And the line between commanding a spirit and making a pact with it is thinner than you think. Medieval church authorities knew this. That's why the Key of Solomon was banned. Owning a copy could get you excommunicated. Practicing from it could get you executed. The Inquisition burned grimoires. They burned the people who owned them. But the Key of Solomon survived because people kept copying it, hiding it, passing it down in secret. By the Renaissance, the grimoire had spread across Europe. It influenced the development of ceremonial magic. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn studied it. Aleister Crowley referenced it. Modern Wicca borrowed from it. Even today, occult practitioners use the Key of Solomon as a foundation for ritual magic. But most of them don't follow the rules. They skip the fasting. They abbreviate the prayers. They treat it like a recipe book instead of a sacred system. And according to the grimoire itself, that's how you get hurt. There are stories, modern stories, people who tried the rituals without proper preparation. Some report strange phenomena, voices, shadows, objects moving, feelings of being watched. Others report nothing at all. No manifestation, no response, just silence. But a few, a very few, report something worse. Obsession, paranoia, night terrors, the sense that something followed them home. One account describes a practitioner who attempted a summoning and broke the circle out of fear. He claimed that for weeks afterward, he heard knocking on his walls, scratching sounds, whispers in languages he didn't recognize. He eventually sought help from a priest. The phenomena stopped. Whether you believe these stories or not, they all point to the same conclusion. The Key of Solomon is not a game. If it works, it's dangerous. If it doesn't work, you're wasting your time. Either way, approaching it casually is a mistake. So let's address the big question. Does it actually work? Here's what we know. For over 1,000 years, people have used this grimoire. Some claimed success, some claimed disaster, some claimed nothing. But the fact that it keeps resurfacing in every century, in every culture, suggests something. Either there's truth to it, or the human desire to control the unseen is so powerful that we'll keep trying no matter how many times we fail. What's undeniable is this. The Key of Solomon represents a worldview that most modern people have abandoned. The idea that spirits are real, that they can be contacted, that they can be commanded, that the invisible realm operates according to rules, and if you know those rules, you can interact with it. Medieval magicians believed this. They didn't see themselves as superstitious. They saw themselves as scientists, experimenters, people mapping the laws of a reality that most couldn't perceive. And here's the uncomfortable part. Some of the things they described, we still can't explain. Documented cases of exorcisms where entities identified themselves by name. Accounts of people speaking languages they never learned. Objects moving without physical cause. Knowledge revealed that the practitioner had no way of accessing. Coincidence, mass hallucination, psychological phenomena, maybe. Or maybe the medieval magicians were onto something. Maybe the Key of Solomon, flawed and dangerous as it is, points to a truth we've forgotten. That the world is stranger than we admit. That there are forces we don't understand. And that some knowledge was hidden for a reason. The Key of Solomon still exists. You can find it online. You can buy printed copies. You can read every ritual, every invocation, every seal. But reading it and using it are two very different things. Because if the grimoire is right, if the system actually works, then attempting it without preparation, without purity, without understanding the consequences, is the most dangerous thing you could do. And if it doesn't work, then you're just play acting with symbols you don't understand. Either way, the Key of Solomon forces you to confront a question most people avoid. Do you believe the invisible world is real? Do you believe it can be contacted? Do you believe that ancient systems of magic were based on actual knowledge? Your answer to that question determines whether the Key of Solomon is a relic of superstition or a forbidden manual that should have stayed buried. One last thing. There's a reason this grimoire is called a key, not a map, not a guide. A key. Because according to the text, Solomon didn't just control spirits. He unlocked something. He opened a door between realms that was never meant to be opened. And once a door is unlocked, it doesn't lock itself. The Key of Solomon was written for humans. It assumes you have the right to command spirits because you're made in the image of God. But there's another book, one that makes no such assumption. A grimoire that wasn't written for human eyes. A text so alien in its structure, so disturbing in its content, that reading it is said to fundamentally break something in your mind. Where the Key of Solomon gives you authority, this book strips it away. Where Solomon's grimoire assumes you can control the spirit realm, this text reveals that you were never in control to begin with. It's called the Necronomicon. And here's what makes it different. The Key of Solomon was banned because it was dangerous. The Necronomicon was banned because it was incomprehensible. The church could understand Solomon's magic. They knew what it was trying to do. That's why they could fight it. But the Necronomicon, they couldn't even categorize it. Because it doesn't operate on human logic. It doesn't follow human cosmology. It describes entities that don't fit into any religious framework. Medieval scholars who tried to read it reported the same thing: madness, obsession, the inability to stop thinking about what they'd seen on those pages. Some said the book itself was alive, that it wanted to be read, that it called to certain people. And once you answered that call, you couldn't unhear it. I found it. I went through the manuscripts, the fragments, the translations that were supposed to be destroyed. And what I discovered, I can't explain it in a way that makes sense. Because the Necronomicon isn't meant to make sense, not to us. That video is waiting for you right now. But I need to be very clear about something. The Key of Solomon is dangerous if you use it. The Necronomicon is dangerous if you read it. You don't summon anything. You don't perform rituals. You just read. And something in those words rewires you. So before you click that video, ask yourself this. Do you really want to know what's written in a book that was never meant for human comprehension? Because once you see it, there's no going back. The Key of Solomon unlocks the door. The Necronomicon shows you what's been waiting on the other side all along. Click the video on your screen if you're ready.